Do I launch in? Hi, everyone. It's nice to see familiar faces flash on. And it's totally cool to just put your background image or name. You don't need to be on video unless you want to. As I said, it will be recorded. So just so as you know that, everybody here will get a copy of it. So if you don't want your face in there, just heads up. For those that don't know me, I'm Michael Moon, and I am a sound healer and musician from Toronto. I've been a part of Figment since its first year on Toronto Islands, and it's a very fun, down-to-earth and colorful, playful festival, and I always enjoy being a part of it. And this is a extra special year because normally it's kind of people wandering in and out and the kind of park type thing. Last year was had like an hour and a half to squeeze in a bunch of stuff, but this year we have 3 hours together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I thought I would, because this is an interactive festival, I thought it would be a great opportunity to share some of my sound healing retreat type stuff with people that can't normally make it to that, or people that want to brush up on it. And so this is going to be a kind of two-part interactive affair. The first part, I will be sharing some sound healing information and techniques, and then the second part will be a show where I'll bring in some of those techniques and encourage you to sort of join in a little bit and go on a Michael Moon Temple of Sound musical healing journey with me. And so that's and there'll be a tiny little break in between as I move to the stage. The colorful lights back there are my stage. You'll get to see later. So welcome. And also, in terms of this is interactive, and it's going to be a bit of a experiment in terms of how I'll get, because there'll definitely be places for questions, and I'll try and, if you put those in the chat, or if you want to put your hand up, there's like a little hand icon. If people aren't used to Zoom, somewhere along the bottom there's a way, reactions I think it is, and then you can put a hand up, and then I or somebody will take notice of that, and not right away if I'm in the middle of a thought or a teaching or an exercise, but get to at some point. But there'll be specific times for questions too, so you can kind of save them up unless it's an emergency. So yeah, we have a whole evening together here, and let's begin. I'd like to sort of first acknowledge the difficult times that we've been in, and in a way offer this to offer some healing and soothing balm for the times, both musically as well as exercises that you can do to maybe help. As my moonlighting career as an astrologer, one thing it gives me is the ability to recognize when something is meant to be. So though these are very tough times, and it can sort of, definitely there can be a lot of, oh my God, what's going on? This is wrong. It's wrong. There is a meant to be quality to it. It's moving somewhere, and it's up to us to point it in the right direction and to work with it appropriately. And we each have our own difficulties with these times, so I'm not going to get into any of that at this point, but just to acknowledge that yes, they're difficult times. There's a lot of intense, stressful situations that most of us have had to deal with on some. Of course, they're different for everyone, and we see it in the world, but we each have our individual versions. And just to let you know that it's okay, it's meant to be. We're going through a very difficult and yet potent transition period collectively, and to hang in there, and give you some tools to help. And so to get into the sound and what I do with sound, normally at this point I would ask everybody to, how much they know about sound healing and their experiences and stuff, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to assume that we all have very different, I see some people here that have been to my workshops, and I've seen some new people. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background on sound healing and what it is. So sound is a very powerful, sound literally is a vibration. It's a physical vibration. And, we know from physics that our entire universe is a vibrating field. And we are vibratory beings living in a vibratory universe. And so everything is vibration. So what's so special about sound? Well, sound has this particular in-between space where it's both physical and non-physical, and it kind of moves the physical, but it's connected on other levels to something beyond. And it's a great way to bridge the gap between the seen and the unseen, the physical and the non-physical. And we are all connected to sound. We are a very visual culture. We're much more aware of our eyes and what we see. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the eyes are a kind of very reaching out kind of sense. And they're kind of searching for stuff. And we can close them and relax. But our ears are always open. They're always picking things up. You can't close them. You can shove all kinds of things in there, and if you've ever been in a loud environment, somebody snoring or whatever, and you're trying to put earplugs in, and you realize it just can't block it out because it's a vibration. It's not just in the ears, it's coming through your body. Sound is very potent, and we're always picking it up. So it's a very powerful thing to become aware of sound and how it affects us and how we can use it for our growth and an empowerment tool. And so this evening I'm going to sort of jump into just some very kind of basic exercises that you can use and walk away with, as well as some understanding of what they are and how they kind of go into the deeper and deeper phases of stuff. And one thing that many people ask me in my workshops and after my performances, there's some people here that were at my last performance I can see, and they were specifically asking me about this. When I do what's called overtone singing. And I'm going to start with an example of what that is and talk about that as a kind of a diving in point, because so many people ask me about it. So if I sing a note, I go, ah, all familiar. Now if I sing that same note, so that's all that one note. But what I'm doing is I'm breaking it out into some of its constituent parts. Because sound, like everything in the universe, is holographic, and every note contains every other note within it on some level, unless it's a pure sine wave, which is kind of uncomfortable to listen to for very long, and only a computer can generate it. But as soon as you put it through speakers and into a room, it starts generating overtones by itself too. So all notes ultimately have these overtones, including our voices, which is why I can do this, and especially our voices. Now, what makes my voice sound different than your voice is that we have different overtones that are stronger than others present. What makes a guitar sound different than a French horn, that sounds different than a viola, which sounds different than a crystal bowl, there's different overtones that are stronger in each one of those instruments. And that's called timbre in music, and creates the different sounds of those instruments. And it creates the different sounds of our voices. So we instantly recognize if it's our mother on the phone, for instance. Why do we instantly recognize it? Because the overtones are familiar. We know that collection of overtones, our brain kind of quickly goes, Mom. We hear an instrument we're familiar with, and that collection of overtones, we know exactly that that's a guitar. So this is sort of where we begin here, with the idea that every note has all these other notes within it, and the ratios of these notes are mathematical, and they create, or they contain within them, the seeds of our universe. So the mathematical ratios within these notes, these overtones, and in fact what the musical scale is a mathematical kind of cut up approximation of these overtones that are kind of, it's maybe too complicated for this moment, but the musical scale is created ultimately from these overtones. And these overtones are in the mathematical ratios that we find the planets circling the sun, that we find the sun...
No dick, no balls, and probably no butthole, since this guy feeds on radiation.
That was interesting. Anybody feel that? That's the power of sound. So everybody please mute yourselves. As you know that the power of sound is very potent. And when it comes out of nowhere like that, you can have a heart attack. So thank you for that, because it's a good example of how powerful sound is. Now my brain is completely blank, but yes, these mathematical ratios are found inside atoms, inside all the ratios of nature, from how leaves branch off, how the human body is structured, and it's too much to go too deep into, but to understand the profound nature of what music is and how it's connected to nature. It's a very holographic, just like sacred geometry. Like this shirt that I'm wearing is a representation in India of the Om. And they talk about, it's called the Shri Yantra, and they talk about it being what you meditate on when you intone the sound Om. And when you put sound through medium like water or anything that will vibrate, you can see it creates these patterns that look like this. And every note has a different set of patterns, and every set of notes, when you have two notes together, create moving patterns. And when you see these things, if anyone's interested, just look up cymatics with a CY, cymatics, and you will see it's basically sound made visual. It's very real, it's very basic, it's very simple. You can see it yourself if you have, say, a crystal bowl or a wine glass, and you put some water in it, and you rub the edge, and you can see the patterns forming in the water. And if you do it more scientifically, you can see some amazing patterns form that looks basically like this type of thing. Some people say that if you put the ohm through a vibratory medium like water, it will actually show this pattern, and I've seen examples of that. Whether that's the actual truth or not, I'm not 100% sure, but it's pretty cool if it is. So when sound hits our body, it's vibrating our body. When we speak, we are vibrating our body. And as our bodies are vibratory beings, this vibration impacts it. Just like that sound that popped out of nowhere earlier impacted us. Just like the sound of an air conditioning unit when you're trying to sleep might disturb your sleep or impact you. Or the sound of a siren might impact you. Or a song you love, all of a sudden, or a song you love that's upbeat, and it's like, yeah, it gets you going. All of a sudden you can exercise, and you got like the good music playing. It's not just a figment of our imagination. It's real. There's when athletes use music consciously, it's much stronger than drugs. If you take somebody's running speed and their top running speed, they can never break through that barrier, and you measure their steps and their pulse as they're running, and then you give them music that's just a bit faster than that, they'll run that bit faster. That the pulse of the music just hooks their body, and it pushes them through that edge. And this is a whole other thing called entrainment, and it's a principle that was discovered at the time when the original clocks were being created in Switzerland, and what we now call grandfather clocks, but the pendulum clocks. These are Swiss precision instruments, and they build a bunch of them, and they put them in a storage place ready for sale, and come back at the end of the weekend, and they'd all be ticking together. And I'd be like, that's interesting. Don't think they were doing that before, so they started testing it out, and they put them in the room, and they're all ticking at different times, but over just a few days they'd start ticking in unison. And this was technically impossible because these things are supposed to be precision instruments, and indeed they keep perfect time, so how could they shift so quickly? Well, it turns out that everything in this universe follows this law of entrainment, which means when two things are vibrating in a similar frequency, this is a frequency, that pendulum is a frequency, just like a note is a much faster frequency. And so they're at a similar frequency. They're actually the same, but they're just off in terms of their time. They lock into sync. And when things are in different frequencies, the stronger one will often lock in the weaker one. And this is an important principle to what we're going to get to here, because we can be the stronger frequency in our lives, and all the craziness in the world and all the vibrations and all the different things that impact us truly do impact us, unless we kind of take control back and create a frequency for ourselves which is stronger that we can entrain to. And so that's what this whole workshop thing is about, really, is how can we create our own frequency so we're less impacted by the external. And so this entrainment is a very powerful thing. And I don't know if anybody that's sensitive has probably had this sort of feeling where they're in a room and like something like the fridge switches off, or the air conditioner switches off, and all of a sudden it's like quiet and goes, ah. It's like because we didn't realize it, but our whole being was kind of entraining with that tension. Or when we leave the city and go to the country, and it's like, oh, everything, you just feel more relaxed because there's a buzz in the city that we entrain to. And even if you're a kind of relaxed person, all of a sudden you're getting irritated in traffic and you're like swearing, and it's just like, wait, I've just meditated this morning. Why am I so irritated? Well, everybody's irritated around you, and unless you really hold your frequency, you get caught up in the buzz. And so meditation actually is a great way to attune our frequency, but it's a subtle one. And because things are so unsubtle these days, it can be very difficult. One of my teachers, a guru from India, who, actually her picture's right there, back in the 80s when I was studying with her, she said something that I didn't understand at the time, but really makes sense now. Was that in India they have these great ages, and right now we're in what's called the Kali Yuga, which is the age of darkness. It's the most materialistic time we can have on the planet, and these are huge, vast cycles of time. And they say in the Vedas, which are these ancient writings and teachings on how we can connect to spirit, ultimately. It's a simplistic way of saying it, but they say that during the Kali Yuga, meditation is very difficult because it's a very materialistic time, and the most powerful spiritual practice one can do is chanting, kirtan, devotional chanting. And we'll get into that a little later. But why is that? Well, basically we just talked about it. If the vibratory field around us is so intense that it entrains us into this very heightened pitch of stress and intensity, it's very hard to calm ourselves enough to align with the subtle divine energies, whatever you want to call them. And so in the Vedas they talk to chant, which is sound with heart and devotion and emotion connected with it. And so what we're creating here is a frequency within our body when we chant or when we sing or when we intone, which is what we're going to do soon. And when we can do this, and when we can create this internal frequency, we can kind of push away the frequencies that are impacting us in a negative way and create our own frequency that we sort of radiate out. And sound is an incredibly simple and powerful way to do this. And the simplest sound that we can do, and maybe the most powerful, is a simple hum. Anyone here that's connected with the sort of New Age worlds and sound healing worlds will be aware of crystal bowls and such. Here's an example. Indeed, a beautiful sound, and it's a great tool for entrainment because you're creating this, or it's helping you to entrain to something. But then you buy one, and then it's like, oh well, I need all the notes for all the chakras, and it gets into a kind of more materialistic thing. I'm not saying that they're bad. I've got more than most people, but you don't need them to start, at least. You are a crystal ball. Our body, our bones are crystal. Our blood, we're literally, our cells are liquid crystal. And when we use our voice, it vibrates this crystalline structure of our body and it radiates it out. And not only that, but we can pick any tone that we want, and we can learn to use it to discover tones within ourselves and discover places that are less in tune. And we'll get into that. So in light of that, I want to invite you to try with me a simple hum as an exercise. And we're going to keep these exercises short because we're not in person, which makes it a little harder. But you'll get the point, and if you like this work, you can take this with you and practice it over the holidays or a little bit each day. Pick an exercise that really resonates for you out of these. But the hum is the one that, if you can pick any one, this one's great because it's the least embarrassing if you're sensitive to that. And just to give you a sense of how powerful this is, I invite you to, after I introduce it, to plug your ears with your fingers, and we're going to not stick our fingers in your ear, but kind of close little flaps there. Just press it in. And hum to yourself. And it doesn't matter what note, and you can change the note. You can move it around and maybe even change the shape of your mouth so it look like this. Not pretty, I know, but that doesn't matter. You're only watching me, not each other. So try that now and just see what you experience. Just do it for about a minute. I'll use the crystal ball, and it's time to come back. Now I invite anyone that has any questions or feedback, you can throw that at me, but I'm going to continue and then take a look and see what kind of questions we might have. This is important. As simple as this is, it can be complicated because it's as simple as a flower, and that's a complicated thing. It's a line from a song that really stuck with me. Because we have our minds are complex, so we tend to complicate everything. But the hum is so simple. And I don't know if anybody noticed this, but if you change your mouth position, the difference that you're hearing of the sound are the overtones. And you're hearing those overtones within yourself. And you can use that to help place the sound into places that are maybe causing a problem. Maybe you have a headache or a tummy ache. You know, speaking of a tummy ache, what happens when we have a tummy ache? Generally, we might put our hands in our belly and go, oh, oh. Natural sound healing. Or we stub our toe. Ow, ow, ow. Grab the toe and we scream, ow. What are we doing? We're using sound and our hands to direct the energy, and sound to clear and emphasize and move. You know, if you've got that tummy ache and while you're groaning, the pain is less. It truly is. It's not just some random thing. It really helps. But we're not really taught about it. We kind of naturally do it, but then we don't follow through. It's sort of like it happens, or like we're upset and we cry, and like we're taught, oh, you shouldn't cry, or you cry too much, or blah, blah, blah. It becomes, versus these things are so important, and we can use them to consciously to help. One of the things that simple hum does for us is it immediately affects the vagus nerve connecting our parasympathetic nervous system. So when we're in fight or flight, freak out, kill or be killed, traffic, panic, state of the world, oh my God, you know, we're not going to survive. I just saw a statistic the other day that was like, I think like 54% of young people feel like the planet's doomed and there's no future. Like, that's pretty intense. How can you live with that? I don't think it's true, but it's very real that we do need to kind of wake up to the fact that we need to shift our way of being. That's kind of obvious. But that feeling, those feelings of panic and doom and depression, and these are things that the hum can so help us with. It just takes a discipline to do it. And it can be hard because it's so simple, and we kind of somehow want something else outside of ourselves to get us out of our funk. You know, the world to change. We want things to be better. We want at least a pill or something. But we have a lot of power within us. I'm not saying this is going to heal everything or change the world or whatever, but it will help us to be less freaked out and more centered, so we can do what we need to do in order to deal with whatever problem is in front of us, versus just being in this fight or flight panic mode. So that simple hum can be extremely powerful. And especially if you can, a great way to do this as an exercise is to put a timer on for 10 minutes to start with. 10 minutes goes by very quickly when you're perusing Facebook or browsing the internet or whatever, but it seems like a hell of a long time when you're humming, especially at first, until you learn to kind of milk it and enjoy it. And so a timer can be really useful, and to kind of remind yourself that, yeah, it's not very long and I can do this, and to go beyond that sort of the discomfort mark and into the trance, into the magic. Because when you start working with these tones, when you first start, you're going to likely intone a tone which is in relation to the vibration around you. There was a study done years ago, just curiosity with sound, and they got people to sit quietly in a room that was very quiet, as quiet as they could make it, and meditate or just be in silence for 20 minutes. And then at the end of that, to just hum a note. And they were kind of surprised to find that most people were humming the same note. And they couldn't quite figure this out. And they repeated the study in Europe. And they found that people were humming the same note there as well, but it was a different note to the ones that were done in North America. And they realized that the note that was being hummed more often than not, and we're talking about the late 70 percentile, I believe, if I remember correctly, around 80% people picked that note. The note they picked was one that was a harmonic. Remember I talked about the harmonics, a harmonic of the frequency of the electricity. Here we have a 60 cycle electricity. In Europe they have 50 cycle. So 60 cycles per second versus 50 cycles per second is a different note. And so you take 60 cycles per second, and in the harmonic series, you double, everything becomes the same note. So 60 cycles becomes 120, and then 240, and at 240 120 is a note, but 240 is a note that we can sing. And it's, I believe, about a B. And that is actually the note of the electricity. This is how powerful entrainment is. So imagine the things we do here and all the different frequencies and, these things. These things are frequency machines. I mean, they've got their little antenna and they're constantly connecting to, and you got this in your pocket. The electricity is a very low frequency. You talked about 60 hertz. This is an extremely high frequency in the thousands of hertz. 5G, 5,000. So very high frequencies, and we entrain to them. I'm not saying 5G is the end of the universe and all, but it's a very strong signal, and it will entrain us to a certain extent. We are all being entrained anyway. We're surviving so far, but also we're kind of not. I mean, we're very stressed out as a culture, and this could be part of it. It's there. I mean, there's frequencies all around us all the time. Radio waves and TV broadcasts, all that's all digital now, but still, all these things are being broadcast around these, and there's frequencies that we don't use that are being broadcast. I mean, our whole universe is filled with frequencies, so they're bathing us all the time. So I don't want you to think, oh, we're doomed because of this one thing, but this thing is a strong frequency when we've got it close to us, or like Bluetooth in our ear and things like that. So we do entrain to it. The study with the electricity kind of proves that. So coming back to my point is when we start the exercise, we'll probably be in a state where we're entrained to things around us. But if you give it time and you let your pitch rise and fall and move around, and you start to feel it kind of settle into an internal space, which is why plugging your ears is so good, because it kind of blocks, you really hear your internal sound and it blocks out external, and it seems so loud inside, yet nobody externally can hear it. So you're not disturbing anybody, you're not disturbing your neighbors or your kids, and your kids are no longer disturbing you. And you kind of go into this internal world and you kind of slide around and you kind of find your place in it. And you start in training to yourself and something within yourself. And it can be very, very powerful. And Try it for 20 minutes. I guarantee you'll be better than any drug. It's potent stuff. So that's my first very simple exercise. And I challenge you to just try it. 5 minutes, even. And I'm just going to make sure that there's no hanging questions, because I did open it up for questions. I'm not sure how to even look. Is there a chat? Here's the chat. Well, somebody said that it takes them a while to get into their magical healing space when they sing, and I think I just answered why. And somebody said it found it too long for them. Well, that's why I challenged you. I think I explained that. But maybe too long in terms of a workshop online. But I did want you to kind of really feel it. And now I'm gonna get into the next step. So the humming is that internal humming. If you just get that out of this, that's great. So we talked about the overtones, and people wonder how I do that, and I always say, well, you're already doing it, and they wonder what I'm talking about. Well, here is an example. Again, all one note. Maybe the overtones are less prevalent, but those are overtones. And all I was doing to create those overtones was changing my mouth to different vowels. Because the vowels, what they are our mouth shaping overtones. That's what makes an E sound different than an E and an A and a ooh, ah, e, they're just simply overtones in our voice. And so we already create these things. We already know how to do it intrinsically. So we don't have to kind of search for it. It's just a matter of playing with it. And so breaking down the vowels, there's many vowels that I would call impure, is kind of the negative word, but not there's 7 pure vowels, meaning vowel sounds that you don't have to move your mouth to make. For instance, E, A, those are pure vowels. But a lot of vowels that are talked about in sound healing are kind of, they're moving vowels, and so they're actually strings of different vowels. A, so there's at least 3 vowels in that one. And so those are harder to kind of, they have their place because the movement of the vowels is what creates the interesting kind of overtone sort of stuff. But just to start with, the pure vowels give us a kind of placement of these sounds in our body. And so if we go from the lowest, kind of like I've got a tummy ache kind of sound, to 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 So those are the 7 vowels. U, A, A, E, E. And you take those 7, maybe give you guys a link to a PDF that has all that written on it at some point, or email me and I can send it to you or something like that if you're interested. I'll put my email in the chat later or something. But for now, those are the sounds, and if I put the letters B and T before them, you get 7 words that can help you remember them. Butt, your butt for the lowest one. Boot, bought, bat, bet, bit, beat. And that helps you place the vowel, because oftentimes when you try and intone these vowels, what happens is you kind of go, you start ooh, and your mouth just gets lazy and everything becomes an ah, because it's kind of the easiest sound to make is an ah. And Heather says interesting vowels move the vibration of the chakras, and that's exactly it, Heather. So these particular vowels you can use, if you know what the chakras are, you can use them to help get inside the vibration of those chakras. But you don't have to know what chakras are and get into all that to use this. Because what we're really looking at here is 7 different overtone patterns. The lower ones are kind of lower overtones, which can resonate lower in the body easier, and the upper ones are kind of higher overtones that can resonate higher in the body easier. And then when you have the mixture of moving the notes lower and higher, because lower sounds tend to resonate lower in the body, higher sounds tend to resonate higher in the body, and you mix those two together, and these shapes, these vowel shapes, then you have these tools to place sound into different parts of the body that might feel that need help, to kind of bring the vibration of sound into different areas of the body. And once you start getting more in tune with this through your whole energy field, and you can really feel how you can clear yourself and push away stuck energy and move it very powerfully with these things. And I have to say at this point that though we're just doing this briefly here, and we're these exercises can be very powerful, and they can bring up a lot of emotion if there's emotion stuck in these places, which usually there is. And I don't want you to be afraid of that. And if you're doing these things at home where you're kind of really milking it, don't worry if you start feeling discomfort and emotional stuff. Now, the worst thing to do is to clamp up in the middle of it and no, I'm not going to go there. It's too scary, or that shouldn't be happening. It's totally natural. It's a healing, part of the healing process. And if you just continue with that, it will release and let go. But if you kind of clamp down on it and stop and don't let it release, then it can make you feel kind of screwed up for a while. So just be aware that there is a powerful process to this. And in tonight's thing, you might, it's too short to really maybe get into that, though you never know. And feel free, if while you're doing these exercises at home, something triggers something and you're not sure what to do with it, to email me and I will help guide. But the most important thing is to just trust, and it's not dangerous. It's not going to cause a problem. You just have to keep it going. The problem is when you clamp down on it and then it's there trying to get out, but you've kind of stirred it up but it hasn't fully cleared. So just that warning. So let's do these sounds together and see how they feel for us. When you're doing this alone at home, you will feel, ideally, the lowest comfortable note for you is a nice place to start with the kind of sound. And raising that tone up so as the kind of highest comfortable. I'm not talking about the highest note possible and lowest note possible, just comfortable. It doesn't have to, you don't need this huge wide range. We're not trying to be singers here, though all this will help you become a singer if you want to be, and it'll help singers to open up their voice and move it and have better placement and things. But that's not the point here. The point is to just our comfortable range, working it and finding the placement. You know, our comfortable highest note will resonate the highest for us. We don't have to worry about chakras being a certain note. You're going to see that as the basis of sound healing all over the place. And you've got to buy your 7 bowls with C as the root chakra and up the C major scale. That's too simplistic and not necessary. You got to find your note that resonates in those places. Now, if you have a bowl that says it's the root chakra and your intention, you believe that to be, well, that resonance is going to resonate there. But if you only have one bowl, and you can use it to resonate every chakra, and you can sort of create harmonics with that bowl, you know, to get lower and higher if you want some sort of like background. For instance, let's say I have this bowl. It's an F sharp, so it's none of those notes, but it's a beautiful sound. So I might go, so just creating. But even that, at this point, we're not using anything. My point being is we don't need anything like this because our voice will find its placement. And this will kind of make it feel harder because you feel like you have to get that note, and you don't. You just need to find the note that's comfortable for you. Later, we'll learn how to slide it around and find a placement of the exact right frequency. But at this point, we're babies starting. So I'm just going to pick a note for me here, but you find your own with this. I'm going to hit the bowl between each one, and I'm going to try and let's just do 4 breaths on each vowel sound for now. I will say the sound first. So we're starting with butt because we're sitting on our butts. And so let's just try it together. So I can go into trance. I think that was 4. So we're going to move up to ooh, as in boot. we're going to move up to ah, as in bought. We'll move up into ah, as in bat. This is the most open sound your mouth can make. So there's a hint, kind of like a baby. We'll move up with the sound eh, as in bet. Move up once again to the sound I, as in bit. And one more with the sound E as in beat. Be with that for a moment. Well, let's end with a kind of medium pitched ohm. And what the ohm is going to sound like is, now we know the vowels, have a better sense of what the ohm is, because the ohm is like encompassing every sound the mouth can make almost. And so the idea, if you don't know what the ohm is, doesn't matter, because this is it. But if you do, this is, in my estimation, what it is. So if you take the most open sound you can make with your mouth to the most closed sound you can make, like you're kind of encompassing the universe, because the Om, we talked about this being the Sri Yantra of the Om, the visual representation of the Om. The Om in the Vedas is the representation of the vibratory field of this universe. We talked in the beginning very briefly about this whole universe being nothing but vibration, and the Om represents that. It represents the field that all vibration of the manifest universe comes into form and back into the oneness of this vibratory field, which is the represented as the Om. And so if we do it, it would sound a bit like this. So the most open to close, like you're eating the sound, like you're encompassing everything. Let's try that together 3 times. So normally in a workshop I would be asking how you're all feeling, and it's very, very weird, and a bit tricky. You're right here and yet not. But I'm going to put out that if there's any questions, feel free to chat them. But I'm going to also, as they're coming in, answer some of the questions that usually happen for people and describe a few things. Nice to see the comments. People, beautiful, divine. Thank you. Reminds me of the Bija mantras. Yes. Bija mantras they all have the ah in them, so it's different, but they use the consonant, interestingly, to get the sound. So vam, ram, yam, ham. So they all have this so they're related to the Om, but the different lam, la has that low sound, has a bit higher, etc. Yi, ha. So that's where the Bija mantras fit into this. It's the same idea, just a different approach. And if I'm distracted, I'm just looking to see if there's questions here. One is a sore, dry throat. Is it okay to hum, sing, vowel practice? Well, you already answered it, but gentle. Yeah. It's good. Water. Good. There are different things that singers do for that as well. For this kind of practice, we're not trying to be something. So I'm kind of pushing the sound so you really hear it. And that's one approach, and it's appropriate for certain times in the healing practice of sound. But it's not necessary. I'm doing it to really emphasize them for you. You can do these very quietly to yourself. You don't have to push. In fact, you don't want to ever push. When the sound gets big, you want it to naturally be big. Kind of, these sounds want to fall out of you. You kind of have to, the biggest effort I want you to focus on is shaping your mouth, not pushing the sound. The shaping of the mouth is the important part, letting the sound come through that. You want it to be as natural as possible. It's okay for it to be quiet because it will. And it's okay if let's say it starts getting bigger and then your throat starts closing in on itself or catches, or you need to start coughing or something. You're pushing too much, pull back. And if you've kind of got yourself in a place where it's really tight or really dry or really uncomfortable, part of that could be physical. You need some water. Part of it could be emotional. And the best thing to do at that point is come back to the hum, something very gentle, very simple, or bring the sound very low and quiet. And I don't know if anyone noticed as I was doing each sound. I'm not just like I told you that each of these are the pure vowels, so you don't have to move your mouth once you get to them. But you'll notice that I was like, for instance, like, so moving it around to find the right placement where for my body and my mouth, and in that moment the sound hits something that feels like it sinks in, like it kind of gets its right placement. Especially, I purposely didn't bring this up in terms of relating them to the chakras, though you can very much relate them to that, just like the Bija mantra somebody mentioned. And so, for instance, very quickly, for those that are interested, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, just ignore it for now. The root chakra, the sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, I, crown, E. And so if you want to place it in those spots, you find the right sound, you might slide the note around a bit, and then the placement of your mouth, all of a sudden there's a spot where it just goes, you feel it in that place. Certain ones will be a lot easier than others. Generally the upper ones are easier because it's harder to get the lower sound deep in there, but it's definitely possible. It takes a little more practice to feel it. You will feel it energetically before you'll feel it physically. The upper ones are easier to feel physically. But if you trust the process, you will feel them all to a certain extent physically eventually. And part of that is moving the shape of your mouth till you hit that right overtone ultimately for you and the right note. And so that's more important than kind of pushing the sound. Any other questions? Let's see if there's, I don't know how to quite see if any hands are up or anything. I guess they'll show up in the beginning if there are. Okay. So I think I've answered the questions for now. Somebody asked, how are humans entraining to electricity frequency if we usually don't hear it? Well, that's the interesting point. Our body hears it. So our ears pick up. There's like this vast frequency spectrum. I heard it described once as if the frequencies of our world stretched from coast to coast of the United States. Obviously, this is a states-centric study. From New York to LA, then the frequencies we experience with our five senses are the size of a dime. Very small. We experience 1 octave of vibration in our visual. Just 1 octave. From red to violet is 1 octave. The equivalent of 1 octave of sound. Now, a piano is 12 octaves. We can hear quite a bit more than that, depending on our hearing and our age, and then animals can hear even more than that. Our hearing is actually far more sensitive than our visual, but we kind of get our brain takes more out of that little tiny bit of frequency in our visual in our kind of our human animal existence, but our ears are actually picking up way more vibration, but not all of it. Just it's sight was this, like sound would be this, but then the vibrations that make up the universe are far more. But our body picks them up in different ways, and we do. Obviously, this study that I cited proves that even though we don't hear the sound, we feel it. And 60 hertz is definitely an audible, and 50 hertz are both audible frequencies. So technically, I mean, if I'm a recording engineer as well, so as anybody that works with music, if you've worked on a stage or anything, and you get that hum. It's like, where the hell's that hum coming from? It's like, that's the electricity not grounded properly and coming through the speakers or through some piece of gear that's not grounded properly. And so you hear it. You hear the electricity. But even when we don't hear it technically, it's affecting us. So that's what's very interesting in all this. It's hard to hold the note for long, run out of breath. My suggestion with that is don't worry about it. I am a singer. I hold the note long because I've trained at that. You don't need to hold it long. You just hold it as long as comfortable, and you take a breath and you enjoy the breath. And then you do the next note and you enjoy the note. And then when it runs out, you take another breath and you just enjoy it, and you enjoy the silence in between. You know, it's part of what's the problem in our culture right now. Like we're coming through a real energetic shift where our culture has been in one big in-breath for a long time, decades. You know, economic expansion, expand, grow, and we're at a point where that's no longer possible. We need an out-breath. We need to surrender. We need to let go. We need to breathe out, breathing out, and then breathing back in, breathing out. They're both part of it. So when you have to take the breath, you take the breath. That's my suggestion. In terms of if you really want to learn how to hold it and take it into the realm of singing, then the key is the diaphragm. You know, here, as a singer, you want to have good abs because you need those muscles. That's what holds the breath. That's what controls the breath. So ultimately, if you want to be holding that for longer and to have it steady and clean and clear, as a singer, it's all in the diaphragm and those core muscles. And so that's kind of, but it's a mixture of being relaxed and with that grounded core. But that's beyond this workshop, and you don't have to worry about it. You know, we want to, just like when you speak, you don't think about your voice. You just do it. You're not like, oh my God, like, am I doing it right? Like, when do I take a breath? Can I do it? Like, it's going to be embarrassing. I can't hold my sentence for too long. You just do it. You don't think about it. You just talk, and then you take a breath and you talk. That's what this should be like. In fact, singing ultimately in times past was as natural as speaking, because it's the same thing. Singing is elongated speech, just as we elongated those vowels, which are part of our speech. And so there's many ways that we can work with that and elongate those sounds to play with them. And you know, one of the things one can do, and I'm not going to get into the full exercise of this, but just so as you know, so you can take the sound and swoop it through your comfortable range. And so that's swooping, the siren kind of sound, and swooping through as slow as you can. This is where you might want a little more breath control to do it, but not too much, because you are aiming for a smooth sound, but you're not forcing a smooth sound, because this exercise will show you the weak spots, the spots in your energetic field relating to the frequencies of those notes that have some blocks, have some work to do, have some stuck energy. So you might kind of go and like you just, for some reason, you just can't swoop through it. It's just you try and it just kind of, every time you do it, it skips it. That's very common for people that have not done any of this work before. So there's something in there that is blocked. And so if you just try and gently, not force, but just gently keep trying to, and you feel where it's just going to break and drop. Try and very softly, gently swoop through as much as you can. And if And this is a very powerful exercise, and to try and hang out in the area where you kind of your voice didn't want to be. That's where the juice is. That's where the magic is. So, and there you don't want to push it. You don't want to get a perfect voice that lasts for, a minute and a long breath. It's just and it might, tears might come, or other sounds might come that that just want to release. And this is like endless magic. It's too much to get into here, except that these simple keys are very powerful. If my invitation to you is to just try playing with some of this like a child. Children play with sound all the time. They're always making sounds. You can't shut them up. I mean, vroom, 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 wee, yeah, scream, wow, wow. It's so natural. And they're constantly swooping, and we kind of tell them to shut up because it bugs us. But it's a natural thing that they're doing. If they stub their toe, and like you're looking at their toe and it's not even hurt, and they're just bawling their eyes out as if it's the end of the world, and you're just like, shut up, like everybody's looking at you. But no, it's like, let the kid cry it out, because they'll cry it out and it's done. Then they're playing again. They don't even think about it again. It's a natural way that they release that shock and that trauma of that moment. And that's all it is. It's just a natural way we do it. And so to be playful like children with these ideas, and to not get caught that, C is the root chakra, or I've got to use this vowel sound. I give you the vowel sounds as they're little keys, they're little codes that get you in, but then you make it your own. And the hum, just go back to the hum, because that hum is very powerful. And also, to not be afraid to use our voice and to sing. And so that'll be the next portion of our program. Very soon we're going to take a break. And I'm just keeping an eye on the chat in case there's more questions. But very soon I'm going to take a very short break, where I'm going to turn my camera off, change the battery, and move over to my stage, where I'm going to treat you to a beautiful show. I'm going to improvise a bunch of my songs to see what comes out for you. But I'm going to include a good chunks of time where I invite you to join in. And I know this is kind of strange in this sort of Zoom world. So normally we would create this amazing group entrainment together, where I'm holding the vibratory field in a strong way. Remember I talked about entrainment, and then you just kind of get pulled into it and sing along naturally. And by doing so, you join in the sound. And I called this workshop Merge into the Sound, because that is ultimately what I want you to learn to do, through using your voice to merge into your internal sound, and then through this next part to merge into this bigger sound. And there are going to be times where I'm singing words, and you just let the words dream you into what they want to suggest to you in your life. Treat it like a meditation, like a gentle, relaxing meditation, where you just let it wash over you and let it speak to your unconscious. If you've got issues that are up, just internally, like kind of just bring them forward and see if any of this speaks to you. And then there's going to be spots where I kind of repeat simple phrases, like little chants or little choruses that are the first song I just got the hit to do will be called One With You. And so there'll be a point where we just start singing that together, One With You. And just feel that. And the challenge I give you in this as an exercise is, can you, and this is like, it could be a good time, like if you don't have good speakers on your laptop, to maybe put on like some nice headphones, or have like some kind of better speaker setup so you can really hear the sound. And then to be able to remember, we talked about you don't have to be loud. So to be able to make sound with yourself while the sound around you you're still conscious of. So you're really still taking in the sound, but you're making your own sound to merge into it. So it's kind of like you feel the vibration inside. So maybe you might just very quietly be singing the One With You along with it as I sing, and I'll do my musical stuff. Or there might be times where I'll create like a hum and like a drone. And at those times where there's a drone is a great time to just hum quietly along. So you're still listening to the music, but your body is humming along with it. And to see how that feels, to kind of be in this sort of in between. You're making the sound, but you're receiving the sound, and you're kind of in this thing. As an experiment, let's see how that works with Zoom. Because it's really powerful in person. But these days we've got Zoom, and the great thing is, well, you get to come into my studio and join in. So that's I'm just looking at the awesome. So at this point, if you feel the need to go to the washroom or just chill out, I'm just going to take 2 minutes or so to change over. I'm not going away, just my camera will for a bit, and I will see you on the stage. Blessings. And at the end, I will open it up in case there's any more questions, and people will be able to unmute themselves and say something. But for now, just stay muted and see if you can enjoy the journey without getting distracted by your phone. That's an exercise. See ya.
As I walk upon the earth, you kiss my feet. I take you deep inside of me with everything I eat, dancing with the trees, the rocks, and the green. I'm one with you. I'm one with you. Born from the sea, I flow with your tide. I sip from the stream and take you inside, flowing in my blood, your ocean of love. I'm one with you. I'm one with you. I'm one with you. Breathing deep in and out. My lungs are the trees inside out. I kiss the wind and the wind kiss me as we breathe. I'm one with you. Fire is the spirit that animates me, from the sun to the spark of life that sets me free, burning of another flesh from the word. I'm one with you. Sing it with me. I'm one with you. One with you. I'm one with you. I'm one with you. Try singing this, thinking of the planet, thinking of your family, the whole human race, all the animals, all the trees. We're all one. I'm one with you. One with you. I'm one with you. mind. Light the mystery of the heart, awake the golden dawn. Pure love, the Holy One, burning, blinding splendor. Ancient stories far and wide lead us through your fire. Bird of love, soaring into my breaking heart. She's nesting, all alive and flowing ocean, resting here in my heart. Holy moment of love, there's nothing but love. Nothing but love, there's nothing but love. Crickets ring the evening out in pulsing quiet thunder. Constellations weave the sky in awe-filled shining wonder. While broken souls and broken hearts keep lining up for blessings, praying the sun appears each and every morning. Bird of love, soaring into my breaking heart. She's nesting, all alive and flowing motion, resting here in my heart. Holy moment of love, there's nothing but love. Nothing but love, nothing but love, nothing but love, child of God and know that you are holy. You need no cure, no priest, no queen to make you one and only. You are the bridge, you are the light, you are the love you're seeking. Step within your temple now and know that you are king. Bird of love, soaring into my breaking heart, she's nesting. All life and flowing motion resting here in my heart. Holy moment of love. There's nothing but love. Nothing but love. Nothing but love. La to the flames. A hidden fire blows on the winds of change. Division spreading through the digital trance. Blinded in blue light, S and M. Healing this all calls out to me, crying down the wind of love so wide yet free. Break free, break free. I'm not depressed, I'm devastated. Sick, broken, lost, and dislocated. My mother too ill to hold me close. My father imprisoned by the Holy Ghost. Healing in this love calls out to me, emerging from a life of pain so sacred and free. Break free, break free. Tuning in through the heavy flow, the disconnecting, revolving show. Breaking the stories that cover our eyes, revealing the shadows buried inside. Healing the world inside of me. Prayers, forgiveness, tears through love's agony. Break free. to the flames, bearing the weight of freedom's pain. Lost and found and lost again. Emancipation from material gains. In the end, this love calls out to me, bounced on the razor's edge, so lost yet free. Break free, 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 break floating in this moment so free, letting the world just be. I slip inside, closing my eyes to see. Through the illusions and mysteries, I'm open wide, with so many feelings so alone. It's breaking my heart. I can't help but cry as I wonder why this world's so apart. Love, the only song I know. Searching my whole life for freedom, just for a taste of freedom. beyond time, losing myself to find I am free. All the love I feel inside, breaking my heart. Open wide, I realize I am a precious part of this metamorphing, merging majesty, beautiful blooming jewel, shining through the emptiness, revealing my truth. Love, the only song I know. Return to love, the river is singing. Return to love, drop in the flow. Return to love, the wind it whispers. Open your heart and let it all go. I know in time we'll see it come around. I can feel the love now spreading through the crowd. Out of our suffering, we return to love. Letting go with the sunset, letting go with the moon, moving and flowing with nature's cycles, infinite spirals into the new. Settle in this moment, feel it near. Let the angels whisper in your ear. Out of our loneliness, love appears. Falling through the shadows into this burning soul, the pain of a billion petals aching to unfold. Return to love, return to love, return to love, return to love, return to love. Hear the song born of silence, return to love, return to love, return to love, return to love, return to love. return to love. Returning, returning, return to love. Returning, returning, return to love. something new, something inconceivably grand. Standing on the edge of something that has never been before. All we've known is slipping through our hands. Free falling, free falling through the world, falling through the bottom of our dreams, right through the mind and all of its schemes, right through to something numinous, mysterious, yet part of us, something that has never ever been. Free falling, free falling through the world, born through the world. Behold the brilliant emissaries, there is nothing ordinary that you relate to anymore. Intensifying, multiplying, quickening, glorifying, something new is ready to be born out of this storm. Letting go and falling through the stars, the day can never comprehend the dark. Born into the mystery that was always part of me, falling through the holes in my heart. Free falling, free falling through the world, born through the world, through to the angels in your mind. All the love you pour for her, it is yours now, let it shine. Ancient stories find you in a love you can't deny. Let it break your heart open, just let go and cry. See the glory in your eyes, it sparkles softly through the fear. Sweet child, your time has come to shine your beauty everywhere. Take this love and shine it, the fire's in your eyes. Take this love and shine it bright, don't hold it inside. We are the love. We are the love that we're waiting for. We are the love. We are the bound to the cross of the world, lost within this embodied fold. Look around, your light's reflecting, scattered in 7 billion souls. Take this love and ride it, we will catch a fall. You cannot know the glory that is possible. We are the love. Sing it with me if you like. We are the love. We are the love. We are the love. One more time, yeah. We are the love that we're waiting for. Woke up in a dream, everything's so beautiful. The light of love, awakening a miracle. Flying with the angels, soaring through the night, wings of love. Flying with the angels, rising like the fire we shine above. Light explodes, blowing my mind away. As choirs of dawn break night into day. Oh yeah. All this pain in our hearts so heavy, loved and forgiven, released forever free. with the angels, soaring through the night on wings of love. Fly with the angels, rising like a fire we shine above. Light explodes, blowing my mind away. As choirs of dawn break night into day. Choirs of dawn break night into day. Love and fear, weaving a circle. Compassion is flowing deep in the broken heart of evil. Fly with the angels, soaring through the night on wings of love. Fly with the angels, rising like a fire we shine above. Light explodes, blowing my mind away. As choirs of dawn break night into day. Choirs of dawn break night into day. A single flame can blow the darkness away. Light up your heart and turn this night today. There is no other, the time is now. Here ride the dawn, dance with the sound. We are flames blowing the dark away. Light up your heart and turn this night today. Come the time is now, yeah, ride the dawn, dance with the sound. We are flames blowing the dark away. Lighting up the world, we'll turn this night today. Yeah, winding down with one last song. all that we've made, all that we are, everything we saved, every planet, every star, all things in time combine. The animals, the trees, the flowers and the stones, the mountains and the seas, all we have known, all things in time combine. All that we love, all that we fear, everything we hate, every song, every tear, all things in time combine. All things in time combine. All is one. All is one. All is one. All is one. Join in if you like. All is one. 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 All is all things in time Thank you, everyone. I'm Michael Moon in the Temple of Sound. And if you all like to unmute yourself and say hi, you can, I think. If anybody's still here, I'm going to maybe move. See, over here, I'm far from the computer, so I
Thank
can't.
you, Michael.
Oh, I hear you.
Love you.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Let's all sigh together. Maybe. How about one last Om? Delicious. Nice to hear you guys. I almost felt you were in the room.